how to attract abundance with meditation technology. We can actually bend reality with our thoughts. Now we have a lot of science to back up the power of intention. How to use your mind to overcome any disease. Use our minds and our intentions to actually change reality itself. All right, so today we have a lot of exciting new training and education. And as you've seen in the topic, today is episode 5 of how to attract abundance with meditation technology. And specifically, we're going to talk about the science of bending reality. We're going to talk about how we can actually bend reality with our thoughts and with our mind. Isn't that exciting? Okay. For thousands of years, we thought that prayers or intentions or magical things that happen were just false belief. People went on witch hunts, and people just thought that it's not real. It's not scientific, and people were just imagining these things were happening. But now we have a lot of science to back up the power of intention, the power of our minds, of how we can use our minds and our intentions to actually change reality itself. And we're going to talk about that in this webinar. So if you're here, take a look at this outline. So we're going to talk a little bit about quantum physics and research that has been done within the last 100 years only that shows the reality, a new concept of what reality actually is. We're going to talk about mind over matter. How do you have actual mind over matter? How do you have mind over machine? Can we actually influence how a machine functions with just our thoughts? How do our cells communicate? How do our cells in our bodies actually talk to each other? We can discover that. Also, how to use your mind to overcome any disease. So we can talk about energy healing specifically. How we are antennas, the human antenna, how we are actual transmitters and receivers of signals and energy. And then I'm gonna share with you the manifesting formula. So exactly what you need to do in order to manifest anything in your life, and how to master the art of attracting abundance. Okay, let's talk about the difference between classical and quantum physics. Classical mechanics is a physical theory of deterministic nature and is governed by the principle of causality. Well, quantum mechanics is a physical theory of probabilistic nature. It is based on the concept of probability and observation. Okay, whole bunch of fancy words. What does that mean? Classical mechanics, okay, stuff we learned in high school that we've learned for the last 300 years. Okay. Basically F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. Okay, deterministic nature means that it's set. You can't change it. All right, you got F, you got m, you get a. You put in force times mass acceleration, and you get a result. It's always the same. It doesn't change. You can't change. You can't take energy away from a system. Does it make sense? You can't add energy or take away energy from the system. The system is always balance each other out. So that's what I mean by deterministic nature. It's a closed system, okay? And it's governed by the principle of causality, which means if A happens, then B happens. If A didn't happen, then B is never going to happen. So one thing has to cause the other thing to happen, okay? So that's classical, and that's what that's conventional science. Everybody knows these, and that's what everybody accepts. So what's quantum mechanics? Quantum mechanics is a physical theory of probabilistic nature, which means that a particle is not definite. The particle is just a probability. There's only a chance of it being there. Why is what you're seeing right now, or why is your hand, why can you feel your hand there, is not actually 100% there. It's just a probability that's going to be there. Or if it's an electron is in the universe, it doesn't mean it's always there. It's only a probability that's going to be there. Okay, so quantum mechanics is based on probability, that everything in the universe is just a probability. There's no set thing. There's no thing that is always going to be the same every time, in every point in time, every point in space. Okay, so that's the difference. And the next major difference is the concept of probability and observation. What does that mean? Is that something is different based on the observer and based on when it was observed, or whether the observer was there in the first place. Okay, so there's an experiment, and that's going to lead me to the next thing. Okay, this will explain it better. The double slit experiment what they're doing is they're firing these particles into a shield, and the shield had 2 slits on it. I don't want to go into the details of how everything works. It gets pretty technical, but they're firing these electrons through these 2 holes, and then when they shoot into when they're captured on the screen, what you should see is just 2 lines, right? Because you're shooting these particles through these 2 holes, you should see 2 lines. But what happens is that all these other lines show up. Why is that? What they saw was they saw a whole bunch of lines instead of just 2 lines. What happened? Okay, so basically what happened was that particle turned into a wave, and then it's like a wave, like you drop a pebble into the pond, it makes this wave, right? Like this circle that keeps expanding, and then there's many circles. So what happened was that one particle turned into a wave, and then that wave emanated out from the 2 slits. And then whenever the waves overlapped each other, it created a line. So what they showed was that the particle turned into a wave. How can it be possible? People thought that particles were particles, waves were waves. But that wasn't what happened. They showed that the particle can be both, depending on whether somebody was observing it. Isn't that amazing? The mere observation of the experiment was able to turn the behavior of the electron. Okay, so that's my crude way of explaining how the experiment works. But the concept that you need to grasp is that this electron was this experiment showed that electrons can be both things at the same time. It can be 2 things at the same time, and it can be 2 places at the same time, because it behaved differently depending on whether somebody observed it, was watching it or not. Okay, so it means that our consciousness, our observation, actually changed the results of a scientific experiment, and it changed the behavior of the electron just by our consciousness, with our thoughts, with our awareness of it. So what does that mean? Are you guys following? You guys getting this? If you don't get it, it's fine. Okay, just understand that basically they showed that something that was not possible was now seen very clearly that was actually happening. Okay, it's called non-local existence. The same thing happens when 2 electrons were once bonded together and resonating together at the same frequency. They separate the 2 electrons by thousands and millions of miles, and then they measure the electrons again. And then when they did something to one electron, the electron reacted in the same way, where there was nothing connecting them together. Okay, so something is called quantum entanglement. Is that once something is entangled together in the quantum realm, okay, outside of our normal dimension, they still communicate with each other instantly. Not the speed of light, not faster than the speed of light, instantly, without any lag time in between. Because if you have one electron on one side of the Earth and the other side of the Earth, I think it takes 7 seconds for the light to travel from one side of the Earth to the other side. But what they found was that they reacted instantly in synchronicity. Okay, which shows that there's some way that connects these electrons, some channel that connected them together that we could not perceive, and that classical physics could not explain. Okay, so that's what this experiment is about. You can read about it. It's called a double slit experiment. Okay, so depending on whether there was an observer or not, and the electron was both a particle and a wave at the same time. So mind over machine. So there's many experiments that have been done based on the quantum field, and in the 12-year period, there's nearly about 2.5 million experiments done of mind over machine, and it turned out that 52% of the trials were intended in the direction. Okay. So here's what it is. Okay, so people were experimenting with heads or tails. Let's say you flip a coin. Okay, how many percent chance is going to be heads? How many percent chance? 50%, right? How many percent chance is going to be tails? 50% chance. Okay, we all know by the mathematical probability, it's always going to be 50-50. So they made a device. Basically, it turns it becomes heads or tails. This device, this machine, flips a coin or whatever in the machine, and then it either shows a green light or a red light. So there's basically two ways it can go. So what they did is they had people just in the room with the device, and then they told them, okay, we want you to use your intention to make it heads more than its tails. And what do you think happened? And they did this 2.5 million times over 12 years with different scientists around the world. They got people to look at the machine and just use their intention and say, okay, I want this machine to show heads instead of tails. And then they had a bunch of people say, I want this machine to show tails. What was the result? It should be 50-50, right? So the result was that actually 51 to 54% was in the favor of the machine, going in the favor of the person's intention. Okay, now an extra 1 to 4% may not seem like a lot, but statistically speaking, it's a freaking giant step. Okay, because that doesn't happen, and the only way it happen is a 1 to a trillion chance of that happening. So something is happening when people are using their intention to change what's happening with this machine to flip heads or tails. What was happening? And this has been proven over 12 years in 2.5 million trials. Okay, and what else they found was that it doesn't matter whether the person was looking at the machine, how strong their concentration was, how the lighting was, what the background noise was, or even with people, other people that were present. It didn't seem to make any difference in results. So as long as a person just use their willpower to make it heads or tails, that's all they need to do. And they had some influence over a significant percentage over the time. Who's amazed by that? Is that crazy? And these were done like literally millions of times they've tested this. So let me ask you a question. What if we can now know that we can actually influence a machine to do things that we wanted to do? If we can influence the machine to do a certain thing, what else can we do? How powerful is the power of intention? How powerful are our minds and our thoughts then? What can we actually do with our minds and our thoughts? So let's look at how cells communicate. Jack Benveniste, he's an immunologist. And he was also doing some water memory experiments. And the water memory experiments were basically people who filled up a jar with a bunch of water, and then they put another substance in there. I don't know what, I forgot what the experiment was, but basically they diluted it to the point where there's nothing left. There's no more substance. It's just 100% water. And when they use that water for treating a certain thing, let's say the water was going to inhibit some kind of chemical in the body. The water at the end of the experiment did the same thing as the chemical in the beginning, even though there's no chemical. So basically the water had memory. It remembered that it was used to be, or maybe were mingling with the chemical in the first place, even though all the chemical was taken out. So that's the water memory experiment. So Jack Benveniste got inspired by this experiment. And what he did was he wanted to find out how cells, our human cells, or any cells in the universe actually communicate with each other. And his theory was that molecules have a signature frequency. Every molecule on the planet has a specific frequency. And then these frequencies travel in electromagnetic fields, and they travel at the speed of light. Okay, so in 1 second, it's going to travel 380,000 kilometers. In 2 seconds, it'll be about 700,000 kilometers away from you. So electromagnetic fields travel that fast. Because he thought, okay, conventional science that it says that our biology is based on chemistry. Okay, it's a lock and key system. You have one molecule, a protein, and if you want to absorb, it has to have a key and lock, and has to collide with the other molecule, and then they have a chemical reaction. Well, the problem with that is it doesn't explain how come we experience our emotions so quickly? Okay, let's say you get anger, you get joy or sadness or fear. That happens almost instantaneously. You can feel it throughout your whole body, right? And that's a chemical reaction. But if things had to knock each other and lock together like this, and then we have so many molecules, okay, let's say one protein molecule. For every one protein molecule, there's 10,000 water molecules in our bloodstream. So in order for that one protein molecule to, by chance, connect with another one of molecules to make a chemical reaction, was like having a bunch of tennis balls in a swimming pool and hoping one red tennis ball is going to hit one blue tennis ball that you threw into the pool. Okay, so it was very unlikely that that was happening, and even if that happened, it will take a long time to toss the tennis balls and mix it all up together so that these two balls will actually connect. Okay, so something else his theory is that something else must be communicating these between the cells so that it caused these chemical reactions to happen. And what he found was that he used frequencies in the audio range. So 20 to 20,000 hertz, just the same stuff we use, same frequencies range we use in our QCode app. And what he found was that by using a frequency of the substance, let's say we have a chemical that helps you release dopamine, makes you happy, okay? So he recorded the frequency of that chemical. And with just the frequency, he played it to the cells. And the cells responded in the same way as if it received that chemical, even though there's no chemical there, by just using the mere frequency of it. Okay, so he was able to do that. Isn't that amazing? So he proved that frequencies is actually how cells communicate and how it actually triggers the chemical reactions in your body. He was able to basically fool your biology system, fool your body to thinking that it was actually interacting with that substance by just using the frequency when there's no substance that exists in the system whatsoever. He was amazed. He was just mind blown. I'm totally mind blown. Okay, and guess what else happened? When he blocked the magnetic field so that the cells couldn't receive any signals, all the chemical reactions stopped in the cell. Okay, so now the notion that all our cells need to have a locking key, some key has to open the lock in order to trigger a chemical reaction, maybe that's not true. Okay, and now we're finding a lot of study that shows that it's frequency, it's electromagnetic frequency that allows our cells to communicate. And that's exactly what's behind our QCOL and our resonant wave technologies. We're using frequencies that specifically basically tune your cells and program your cells to do whatever it needs to do without any substances, without any external chemical or anything. We're just using the frequency of it. And this is what Jack Benevisti was able to show. So I'm totally mind blown. Here's even more. You guys ready? You guys ready for more mind blowing? Okay, mind over disease and energy healing. So Targ and Stitcher, what they did was they wanted to do an experiment of energy healing, and they assembled all types of healers, and they worked with AIDS patients. They're all under double-blind conditions. All they had was they had the name, the photo of the person, and the T cell counts, and then they distributed these envelopes with the person's name, the photo, and T cell counts, and they gave them to all these healers. And every once a day, they open an envelope, and then they'll have their picture. And then for 1 hour, they have the intention of lowering the T cell counts or raising the T cell counts. I forgot what it was. So every person that was in the experiment, that was in the treatment group, had a healer heal them or energy heal them for 1 hour, and then they got healing from every single of the healers. So guess what the result was? And by the way, they assembled all kinds of healers. It didn't matter what healer they were using. They had shamans who did chants and drumming and dancing. They had qigong practitioners like myself. They had Christians and Anglicans who did just prayer. They had people who did some other kinds of energy healing and visualization. But it didn't matter. They had all kinds of healers. 40% of the people in the control group that didn't get any energy healing died from their AIDS. 100% of the treatment group stayed alive. And not only that, they were much healthier in every way compared to the people who survived the control group. That was the result. Now, what they did after that is they repeated the studies because they were not happy with the results. They said, let's make it more scientific. So what they did was they did the results again. They spread out they had more people. They had a bigger group of people. And what they found was the same thing. Significantly fewer AIDS-defining illnesses, improved T-cell levels, fewer hospitalizations, fewer visits to the doctor, fewer new illnesses, less severity of disease, better psychological well-being. The differences were decisive. For example, the treatment group had 6 times fewer AIDS-defining these illnesses and 4 times fewer hospitalizations at the end of the study than the control. You're probably asking, well, if that's the case, is it possible to do some people heal better than others? Like healers. Like if there's a healer, is healer A better than healer B? Like more effective? What makes healer A better than healer B? What did they do? What is the determining factor that makes somebody a better healer than others? Who wants to know that? Because if you know that, then you know how you can heal yourself, and you know how you can help heal other people better, more effectively. And the point of this webinar is attracting abundance, right? Because I'm going to show you how you can use the healing energy the same way that you use to manifest healing in other people and yourself. You can use it to manifest anything that you want to attract abundance in your life. Okay, so which healers are most effective? And this is what they found through many different experiments from different people. They gathered all the data and they found that method and style didn't matter. Okay, it didn't matter if they were Buddhist or Christian or agnostic or atheist or whatever religion they are. It didn't matter what style it is. Some people they did, they chanted and they hit the drum, or they, did some kind of dance. Or some people they did qigong, or some people use their hands. Some people just use their mind. Some people use visualization or use the crystals. Some people use stones. It didn't matter what style they did. What did matter though was how experienced they were. And then they found that whoever had the mindset of just being the conduit of energy had a much higher chance of effectiveness. And the people were healed a lot better than people who thought they were the source of the healing. Okay, so the concept says there's 2 kinds of people, healers, either healers that think they're the water, or the healers think that they're the hose. Okay, so what kind of healer do you want to be? And they found that the healers that thought they were just the hose, where the healing flows through them, were a lot more effective than the ones who thought that they were the water and they were the source of the healing. Okay. So what other things can you do to become a better healer? We're going to get into that in a bit. But we're going to first cover the next part, which is the human antenna. What does that mean? So if you remember, basically it shows that we are actually antennas. We actually can enhance the reception of radio signal or TV signal just by touching it, because it turns our body into reception. We are antennas. So what a scientist did, his name is Elmer Green, is that he measured, he was studying these energy healers, and he was trying to figure out what actual energy came out of these energy healers. So he connected a whole bunch of machines to them, and he found that there was this huge surges of electrostatic energy that they emanated while they were healing. Now, for a normal person, when they're just standing still and just breathing and doing nothing, or just the heart's just beating, you will produce electrostatic energy of about 10 to 15 millivolts on the EEG. But what he found, great, 63 years old, great Gregory, that's very young. And what he found was that while they were meditating, that energy went from 10 millivolts to 3 volts. Okay, so remember 1 millivolt is 1,000th of a volt. So it went from 10 to 3,000 while they were meditating. Okay, and then while they were healing, that went up even more. It shot up to 190 volts. 190 volts. So it went from 10 millivolts, which is, let's say, it's 10, and during meditation, it went up to 3,000. And then during the actual healing, went to 190,000 times with 3 more zeros. 190,000 with 3 more zeros. What's that? 190 1, 2, 3, plus 3 more zeros. So it went to 190 million. Okay, so it went from 10 to 190 million millivolts. How many more times than that? I think it's like 50,000 times more. And guess where that energy came from? They put the EEG all through the body. And guess where that energy came from? Who can guess? Which part of the body? Okay, remember this is electrostatic energy. So like you rub yourself on the carpet or walk along carpet and you touch a doorknob, you get that spark. That's the energy, actual electrostatic energy. It was actually the dantian. Remember when we did the meditation, our belly button, and behind the belly button, he found that the energy, the voltage, was coming from the dantian. Isn't that amazing? For thousands of years, Qigong practitioners were saying, oh yes, dantian is the sea of qi. Dantian is the source of the qi energy, is where the energy is. And then people say, oh yeah, sure, I'll just believe that, whatever you say. But now they measure it and say, yes, that's actually where the voltage is coming from. Isn't that amazing? So now we're just rediscovering now in modern times what people have known for thousands of years. So human antenna. So Qigong, and once more, actually, they found that when we do the Qigong movements, we actually create electromagnetic fields. So as we're moving our bodies during the meditation, or even Tai Chi, like we usually do Tai Chi, right? All those movements create electromagnetic fields. And that's not surprising because obviously our bodies have electromagnetic fields, and when we move, the field moves with it. But what's even more surprising was that the people that are watching, let's say somebody's watching you doing Tai Chi or Qigong, when they put on the measurements or the sensors on their body of the people just watching, they fired the same reactions as if they were actually doing the Tai Chi themselves and doing the Qigong themselves. Okay? What the heck is going on? What's causing it? So just imagine you're doing this Qigong, all right? And then your friend is just sitting there watching it. You can put, brain sensors and body sensors all over his body, and it will show that his body is firing those signals to his muscles the same way as you, without him actually moving at all. And you know what's more? Not only can you feel those signals firing when he's not moving, that person observing it will also have a magnetic field around them. Does that make sense? Is it getting a little bit complicated? So let's say that there's a sensor here, right? Okay, there's a sensor here, and I move my hands on a sensor, and the sensor is going to pick up my magnetic field. Okay, that's obvious. So you can measure, I can send electromagnetic energy to this ball or to this sender, so I measure it. I have the oracle playing in the back, which actually enhances my own electromagnetic field. Okay, so when we're on the webinars like this, what happens is that we tune to each other. So if you're watching right now, we're actually becoming resonant with each other. So it's like two tuning forks tune each other. And when we start tuning to each other, you'll start to experience what I'm experiencing, and I start experiencing what you're experiencing. We kind of connected. So if you're experiencing the Qigong energy right now, like Qigong energy, or if you have it playing, or if I have it playing, and I'm getting that energy from there, and I'm doing the Qigong, and you're watching it, you're actually receiving that energy, or you're actually creating it inside yourself. So they did study of Qigong practitioners again, and they found that there's electromagnetic energy coming from both hands, usually more from the dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you get more from your right hand and so on. And compared to people who were not trained in energy healing, Qigong practitioners had 33% more energy coming from their hands. There's also a study done on Tibetan monks in Himalayas who live in freezing temperatures. Who's heard of this? And they were able to mentally lower their metabolism by 60% and be able to raise their body temperature by 9.4 degrees. Okay, these are people living in the Himalayas. It's negative, like it's freezing temperature all the time, freezing climates, and they're able to sleep in just a toga without any problems. How did they do it? For a regular person, how much does their metabolism drop? Usually, for a regular person, metabolism drops only 10 to 15% during sleep. And now, if you're an experienced meditator, you'll be able to decrease it by 17% at best. Like some of the best meditators, they can make their heart rate drop and make their metabolism drop. But these monks, they were able to drop their metabolism 60% during meditation. And they were able to raise their body temperature so high just from meditating that they're able to survive and be comfortable in these freezing temperatures day in and day out. How did they do it? So what they did was they invited them to a lab, and they put measurements on all of their bodies, especially their brains, and they find out what it is that happened to their brain waves. What was happening in their brain when they were doing that meditation? And what did they find? Now, most people conventionally think that when we go into meditation, what brain wave do we need to be in? Is it theta, delta, alpha, beta, or gamma? Which is what is the target brainwave that we want to be in when we meditate? So conventionally, people think that we need to get into alpha, which is like in between the wake and the dream state, or wake, somewhere in between, somewhere around there, where we are like slow down our thoughts and we are not really alert. Okay. So when they measured these monks, what they found was that they started in beta, then after a few minutes they went to alpha, and then after a few, pretty shortly after that, they went to gamma of 20 to 70 hertz brainwaves, some of the highest brainwaves that they ever measured in history. And meditating is not all just about zoning out and then getting into this calm thing. Okay, meditating can also be about high energy, focused, high awareness intention when your brainwave goes into these high states. So there's a quick formula for being more effective. First, we enter into an intention space. So we need to find a place where we're comfortable without distractions. It's a healthy environment, not crowded, without a lot of electronic equipment. And then we want to raise the chi energy. We want to get into that alpha state. We want to calm our minds. Then we want to focus on an anchor. Okay, whether that is a function, body part, or breath, it doesn't really matter. It could be a movement, it could be a chant, it could be a sound, it could be a frequency, it could be a repetitive sound. Okay, then we want to kind of raise our focus and raise our awareness of the present. Then we want to resonate with compassion and make it meaningful connection. So you want to activate your heart, activate your emotions, activate your love emotion. Then you state your intention, or you visualize that intention. Then you rehearse in your mind, visualize it in every detail as if it's happening right now. Use all your 5 senses to do it. Okay, and then after that, the timing is important too. You want to choose a good time to do it. Do it when you're happy and well. Don't do it when you're stressed out or unhappy, in a bad mood. Then you want to surrender and the power to the universe. Let the higher power take over and just let go. Don't hold on to it too much. And then you take action. Now you can also use our frequencies from the Qi app as the anchor, as the sound. You can just play the sound, or you can use the electromagnetic frequency from Qi or Aura Coil, and that frequency, that repetitive sound, also becomes an anchor so that you can get into those deep alpha meditation states. So how do you become a master manifester? The more coherent your brainwaves, they did studies and they found that the more coherent your brainwaves were, so the more balanced your mind was, that means your left and right brain, your upper and lower brain, if they're all fired in the same frequency and they all resonated at the same time, then the more powerful and effective your intentions are. And the more ability you're able to control reality, bend reality. They know this because people who had the most coherent, most balanced brainwaves were the best healers. You might be asking, okay, remember this webinar, the title is How to Attract Abundance. That's what the series is about. So you're probably asking, does this work for money? You say, oh, it's great. It's great that you can heal people. It's great that you have scientific research that say that you can make it more heads than tails or more tails than heads. Or you have scientific research that you can heal people remotely and all these electromagnetic fields and all these frequencies. But right now I'm broke, I'm poor, and I need money. I have no job. So does it work for money? Well, they actually did another test experiment of a group of meditators who sought to influence the monetary growth of crude materials price and the misery index. And this was done in this, basically it's based on transcendental meditation. There's a lot of scientific research on transcendental meditation. So what they did is this group of people, they meditated to make the materials price fall, crude material price. Let's say they wanted the oil price to go down. Surprisingly, it went down by 13%. Okay, so if they can make the prices of crude materials change on the stock market, if we can do that, and that's involving money, then don't you think that you can do something in your own life? Yeah, I was surprised too, just saying that God's will is only 50%. And the reason is because when we say God's will, we kind of like, we're not specific, right? We don't know, maybe it's not specific enough. And yeah, it's just basically it. The more specific you are, the better. By the way, a lot of the references I got from this webinar are from these books by Lynn McTaggart. So if you want to read them, I encourage you to read them. And if you don't know my story, I was totally broke. I was sick. I had a chronic digestive illness I had for 10 years with no cure. And I was depressed from all the things that was happening in my life. But I was able to transform that. Because, well, first of all, I believed that I was going to be successful. I really believed that one day I would help lots of people and become successful and achieve my full potential and really pursue the things I love to do, which is martial arts and music and helping people and technology and creating things. I love creating new things. So I never gave up, and I used my intention and also eventually use the technology to heal myself. So I used the wand. I used the wand to heal myself in 90 days from my digestive illness. For 10 years, I had this problem. The doctors couldn't do anything. I had to take medication. And after 90 days, I cured myself. No more problem, like just like that. And I'm totally amazed. And ever since then, my life has completely changed. And then I researched more into this technology, developed more technologies like these, and helping people like you so that you can experience it too. So that's why I'm saying this is like a transformational system. It's not just one thing. It transforms every aspect of your life. Because if you can manifest anything that you want, then you can change anything you want in reality, right? If you can change anything you want, then what's the limit? There's no limit to what you can do. So these are just tools, right? Like I said, your mind can do all these things by itself, but if you had the tool, you can get there faster. You can get there easier. Just like I said, it's like a psychic training wheel. Like not everybody can become psychic right away. Not everybody can get energy healing powers right away. Not everybody can do the everybody can do it, but if you want to do it better and faster, then these technology can help you get there. Yeah. So if you don't have one of our products or you want to upgrade yourself, then order now while supplies last. And you can go to qilifestore.com. That's QILIFESTORE.com. You can call us at 1-833-374-2645, 1-833-374-2645, or 1-888-649-2898, 1-888-649-2898, or you can email us at support@qilifestore.com. All right, so thanks for coming. Another Qi Energized David Wong's Resonant Wave webinar, meditation technology webinar. I'm so glad to see you today. I'm so glad that we were able to help everybody heal, and we were able to relieve people's pain and help people feel better and more energetic. I can't wait until next week. So make sure you tell your friends about this so that they can join as well. We're going to do the replay of this in a couple of days. So we're going to send that out. So don't worry if you missed something or you just came in the last part. Just make sure you're on our email list and you're going to get that replay. Once again, when you send out YouTube or Instagram and things like that, please share with your friends, or Facebook. Please share with your friends so we can build this community, reach more people, because this chi energy healing is real and you experience it today, and then everybody on this planet really needs it right now, especially with the pandemic. We need to increase our vibration so that we're more resistant to diseases. We really need to boost people so that we can recover from all the financial difficulties and from all the physical and emotional difficulties that we've been experiencing. So let's work together as a family, as a group, as a team, to raise the vibration of the planet and to really make a difference. Okay, so until next time, use the chi and prosper.